guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast. You know the jam around here. I get the coolest people on the planet, existing rock stars, new rock stars, and they're awesome influencers in this great profession in dentistry to share some of their thoughts, secrets, mindsets to help you guys create a better practice, a better life. We're going to do that exactly today with a new upcoming rock star. We like to refer to him as the Brad Pitt of dentistry, Dr. Charlie Ward. So there's a story behind that. We'll tell it later. But and his amazing assistant, Allie Gonzalez. So we're going to be talking about the planning for success. How do you really create an amazing team between you, the dentist, and your assisting team? So thank you guys for being on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here, Kirk. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and it's so funny because you probably didn't ask Allie. You just told her, like, we're going to do this, right? Allie, you have no idea what you're doing.
It was a little bit. It was like, hey, do you want to do this? It's in a couple of weeks.
Oh, this is so awesome.
He was super excited. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So we're going to get into this topic. Before we do, I always love for people to know a little bit of background. So give us a little bio. Who are you guys? Where do you practice? What do you do?
So Charlie Ward, the Brad Pitt of dentistry, practice in Baltimore. Been working with Allie for only 4 years now. Yeah. So we my partner and I, Devin, bought a practice from a friend that was retiring. And we merged together. Allie had just started working in that practice when we purchased it. And then our friend that we purchased from retired 2 years ago. So Allie works with me most days. So she's pretty much my consistent assistant in a lot of ways. So what's your story?
The same. I started in dentistry about 8 years ago by chance, really, and then just kind of fell in love with it. Just really liked it, and now I'm learning a lot.
Awesome. And now you're going to share all your secrets. Now, I do have to share with our listeners because they're like, Brad Pitt, where did that go? So before we hit the go button, I always try to explain to everybody on the podcast that's on for the first time, and you guys are on for the first time. I just like to be the host of the show, like Jimmy Fallon, and you be Brad Pitt, and Allie loved that. So she's going to torture Charlie with that.
I am going to be tortured today.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
all week long, Kirk. All week long.
And let's do it. Let's do it. So let's set up the why for this. You know, Charlie, you did a master class. You teach at Pankey. You do a lot of great things. You're involved in CE. Let's talk about the why and how important this relationship is between you and your assistant and the theme planning for success. Give us a little background.
Yeah, I think, Kirk, you and I talked about how do we have impact as educators, right? When I'm at Pankey, I want people to be able to take things home that we're presenting. I don't want ideas that kind of live in the ether and they can't pull down and take back to their practices and make a difference. Whether there's small changes or big changes over time, it's important that they have tangible learning. So when we were talking about this, it's like, how can we take the success we have chair side and break that down in a way that can hopefully be impactful for other dentists, right? Yeah. So we started thinking about how, what are our systems? What makes us efficient? How do we continue to learn and grow as a team, the two of us? Because I'm out there taking CE, Allie takes her own, but I feel like it's my responsibility as a dentist and educator to, help her grow while I'm growing. So that's I think where it started, and now it's how do we keep pushing that forward?
Yeah, Allie, what are your thoughts? I want to know what your thoughts are.
It really is that I think with Charlie also teaching a lot, like I just almost felt like I can be a sponge here and soak it all up. And he's very good at explaining and just making sure that I understand a lot of the procedures as we're doing it, which, like he said, I do believe that helps us a lot in just knowing where he's going to go with whatever he's doing so that I have a good understanding of it and we can be on the same page without a lot of times even talking to each other.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, there are a lot of, and usually to be clear, Kirk, I think it's not me just ramming information, down Allie's throat. She's asking me the questions. She's like, "Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? What's that for?" So a lot of those procedures are about education, and the patient's learning too while we're in the chair. But it's also intentional on our part. Like I see something new while we're working. I'm like, "Hey, do you understand why we're doing this? Yes or no? Okay, this is why we're using this material in this situation. This is why we're using chlorhexidine in our bonding protocol. Like this is why we're doing these things." So that I have Allie by my side to say, "Hey, you forgot to do this," or "This is the next step in this." So we have two people that understand the procedure chair side. It's not just that checklist that we're going through. It's the why behind each of those steps that really, I think, has made a big difference in what we're doing in a short period of time. It's not like we've been working together for 25 years.
Even the first couple of years that you guys both been here, I still wasn't assisting you.
That's true. Yeah, we didn't really start working together consistently for
once you retired
2 years ago. Yeah. This has been a quick process for us to be this efficient. So it's not something I feel like can take a long time, but there's an investment in that person. Like I'm invested in Allie. So I think that's important to note. Like I have the right person beside me. I have a person that wants to learn. And it's easy for me being the one that wants to teach, I have a sponge right there.
So I gotta go right there. I'm going to start out controversial here a little bit. I've been doing this a long time, and I think what you guys are talking about is really special. It's very special that you have, and you've been able to do that in a short period of time. I'll couple that by saying I think the dental assistants, I have a special place in my heart because they're the unsung heroes in dentistry. It's very easy. If you go to any big conference, you're going to see a lot of courses for administrators. You'll see a lot of courses for hygienists, and then there's not a lot of support for some of the dental assistants. And while every position is important, I have to say that loud and clear, like every position, I think the effectiveness of having a great assistant come into your life changes a dentist's life really fast, especially if the dentist cares a lot about margins, translucency, details, like what's, I know you said investment in this person, but Charlie, I'm a 32-year-old. I'm going to pretend I'm a 32-year-old dentist listening. What you're talking about, I've been looking for forever. How do you guys create this? Like, how did you get there?
Oh, that's a great question. I'll start by saying you're right. The attention to detail is on the dentist, right? Like that's on me. I think philosophically, for me to provide the best possible care that I can provide to my patient, we need to have a strong relationship with the patient, but with the assistant, I'm not going to say more so, but equal to that relationship with the patient. Like I can't function at all without Allie, let's be perfectly clear, but I can't function at my highest level without her being invested in the process. So I think, that goes back to sort of practice philosophy and mission and vision. Like, where do you want your practice to go, right? Where do you want your practice to go? Well, I want to provide that level of care in a patient, relationship-based practice, and I'm invested in having my team members grow. If I educate Allie enough during this process that she wants to go to hygiene school or dental school, then I'm going to be upset that she's leaving and really, really happy that I helped her get there. So I think it's that part of it too. Like, yeah, that would be tough. But isn't that my goal, right? Isn't that my goal to elevate her to whatever level she wants to be? If she wants to be the best dental assistant in the world, then let's go. And if she wants to be the best hygienist in the world, then I'll throw you on my shoulders and take you there. That's no problem.
Amen. I love it. Yeah. Now I'm going to take the same vantage point. Allie, I'm a 32-year-old assistant. Okay. I've been looking for a dentist like Charlie. Like I would love to work for somebody that cared. Like what's the secret behind your vantage point in this relationship?
I think it just goes back to exactly what he said. has a passion for teaching. And I felt that like I said, I didn't go to dental school. I didn't have any dental training. So I think a lot of my wanting to learn was from that, just from really not knowing. Like a lot of things come in offices before. It was very much, oh, I know this, this, and this, but I have no idea why. With him teaching so much and like seeing what he was doing, I was like, this is it, especially like he said, if he's invested in me, and I can tell, and I think that motivates me to want to do right by him too. And then we just both get so into these cases, and we're just like, let's go do this.
Yeah, and it's also, Kirk, it's not just chair side. Like we're reviewing these cases. So I'm thinking about a case that's 4+ units, right? I'm doing an anterior aesthetic case, something like that. It's not to, say that we're not having these conversations for class 2 composites and so forth. But, in a case that requires more planning, like a complex aesthetic case, there's a lot of planning that goes on up front before we ever touch any teeth. And Allie's involved in that, just like my lab is involved in that, just like my specialists are involved in that. Because she has to sit chairside and we have to work through that together. Like she's not going to show up in the room one day and set up and see that case for the first time.
Right.
So that part of it, there's a time investment in that to make sure that we get the results that we all want to get and are getting. So there's that part of it. Like she knows going into it, we have a long checklist when we do these, and it keeps us both on track. But she knows where we are at each point during the process. Because she's seen it before we even go.
Right? I love it. Now, I want to go through the framework of this that we talked about. Go back to this. You're a big believer in the why. So you mentioned checklists, but like you mentioned before we hit the go button, I really want to make sure people understand the why. Can you explain that, unpackage that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as an example, when we go through a bonding protocol, right? Let's say we're placing a composite restoration or inserting a veneer. It's easy for us to have a checklist of, okay, we're going to pumice the tooth, we're going to air braid, we're going to etch, we're going to place bonding agent. Anybody can follow that list, right? If you know what the materials are. I think what sets us apart, and again, from a relationship standpoint and a result standpoint, is I want her to understand why we etch, why we air braid, why we use conceptus or chlorhexidine. I want her to know why each step in that process is important, so that if something goes sideways, we can both troubleshoot it, right? And she knows. That's happened before, where she might see bleeding in a case where we're getting ready to bond, and she knows, hey, I need something that's going to stop this, because if I don't, we have to start bonding all over again, right? So if she understands the why part of it, if your assistant understands the why in each of those steps, then I have a second set of hands and eyes beside me, right? Looking out for me and the patient and the result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alec, I want to hear your perspective on how important the why is as an assistant.
I think it just keeps everything flowing very nicely. The kind of goes to what he said. It's the knowing why he's doing things and not like why they need to be done, I think helps me with being also, as we're doing the procedure, knowing where he's going next. So just readiness, just I know what he's going to need. Or sometimes something that he does is he'll mumble a lot.
I do a lot of mumbling.
But it kind of helps me because even though he's talking to himself, like I can kind of hear what he's saying. So I'm like, oh, I know if he mentioned this, we're going to need this other thing. Or if where his head is going, like I can kind of be ready for whatever it is that he's going to ask or need or things like that. Just yeah.
Yeah. So go back to the mumbling. So because I do that too. So is it patient facing or is it more when you guys are together? Because I'll do that. I'll start to think about things, and when I think about them, they actually come out my lips, and I'm like, "You saw that?" But Allie, you see. So when does the mumbling? When does it happen? And
All the time.
all the time? Okay.
All the time. Yeah. The funny part is like the patient will be like, how did you understand what he was saying? Yeah, I guess I mumble in certain ways during certain points in the
Or
procedure.
sometimes he'll just not even say something. He'll just go, I'm like, oh, he sees something. Like, what is that? What do I see? What do we need?
Right.
Just something caught his attention. Like, look in there.
Yeah.
You know we're going to put a pin in this and come back to it later if he says
That's fair.
something like that. So on that note, I've heard you guys talk about feedback loop. Okay, that's really important. Mm-hmm. So explain what the feedback loop is, and then I'm going to throw another curveball at you.
Yep.
When do you find time to do this? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So feedback loop for us is on any procedure that we're doing. We'll try to, and I'll tell you how that gets timed, go back and just say what went well during this, what didn't go well, and what can we change, right? So if it's a great success during that procedure, that's a quick conversation. It's like, hey, everything went exactly as we planned. It went a little off here. You took care of this. That was perfect. We're usually having that conversation while the room's getting cleaned. Right? Like, I'll go send some pictures off to the lab. I come back. Allie's still working, breaking something down, putting something else up. I'll be like, how do you think that went? Right? And she'll be like, well, you should have done this. You mumbled a lot. Those types of things. And then it's like, okay, I wish we would have done this instead of this. Right? And there's no blame, right? Because she'll come to me and be like, hey, would have been helpful if we took this photo first and then did this. Or I wish we would have, put the Optigate in at this point instead of this point, So we have to have enough trust in each other to be able to come back and give constructive criticism without any judgment.
Yeah. Because it's all just to make it better the next time.
Just make it better.
Like, we'll try that out next time. We'll do this. We didn't like this way. Let's change it up.
Yeah. And it's quick, Kirk. I think some people get bogged down with, hey, I got to schedule, when am I going to schedule time to go through, reviewing all these appointments? It's not like that. I mean, this conversation takes 60 seconds in a lot of cases to say, hey, this went really well. Next time, let's have this out instead of this. And let's see how it goes. And then the next time we make that, I'll remind her, she reminds me, hey, I'm going to put, this PFI instead of this one out for you to try. Tell me how it goes at the end.
Which it goes back to the why. Like, oh, I know he needs, this one didn't work out because of this. Now I'm not going to forget, like the next time or something. Like, now I kind of know.
Yep.
That's so well said. Allie, let me ask you, how in the world do you give your dentist feedback and it's received so well because he's an instructor and he's particular? Like, how can you do that and say, hey, listen, it could have been better? You know what I mean? And he doesn't get offended or upset or take it personally. So how do you do that?
I don't know. I think I stare at the ceiling a lot.
No eye contact.
No eye contact? Okay.
Like, just say it and run. No. I don't think it's ever been a problem. Like,
I mean, I think that's a great question, Kirk. I think there's no ego in us trying to make a better experience for the patient and create a better result, right? And I can't do that without her, and I can't do that if I'm not at my best. And if she sees something that I can do better, then why do I not want to do better?
Yeah, like, it kind of goes back, I think, to just both of us wanting, like, I want him to succeed. Like, I want the case to be a good case, and him, like, he, I think, wants me to be a good assistant. So I don't think has ever been a situation where it's like it rubbed me off the wrong way or anything. Like, it has never been like that. Like, I think any criticism, it would be like, let's get better at this. Like, let's just do better.
And I think that we're obviously in a situation where we've worked on this isn't a podcast about culture and building mission and vision, but it's about that, because those types of things got us to a point that we have enough trust in each other to say, hey, next time I need this to do my best stuff. And I need her to be able to come to me and say that. So like, I think as a doctor, speaking to other doctors, speaking to other dentists, how would you have that conversation with an assistant? You have to have that in a way that there is no judgment, right? That you eliminate that at the beginning. Say, hey, I want to try to do this better. I need feedback from you at the end of the appointment on what I could have done differently. Like, I would start there rather than start, hey, I'm going to give you feedback at the end of the appointment, right? And tell you everything you did wrong, but I don't want to hear anything about what I did wrong, right? And I think, my wife has this, so my wife's a periodontist that works with us, and I tend to get, as Allie knows too, like I get locked into things that aren't perfect about these cases, right? And these are cases that these are cases like that we're showing at Pankey. Like, we teach the aesthetics course at Pankey, and I'll obsess over a line angle somewhere that everyone's like, are you going to lose sleep over this?
Yeah, like that's probably the worst criticism. It's like, chill out, Charlie.
Yeah. But those are the things that you need someone to check you on those. But if you're gonna present a criticism, then you need to present me with 3 things that went well, right? When it gets a little out of hand, right?
No, I think most of like your questions usually, I think, just what did you see? Like, what did you notice? Yeah. So it's not necessarily like just give me all the negatives. It's just let me know what you saw and go from there. Yeah. Which I think is a good starting way.
Yeah. What did you see? How do you think it went?
And sometimes I'm like, I didn't see anything.
It went smoothly. It can go smoothly. That's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Because if you do this well enough and you have the foundation for trust, you're going to make each one of you is going to make the other better, don't you think? And then you mentioned this is important, and you mentioned this before it's a chance for growth. You're growing by the moment. Can you explain that? Just go a little bit deeper on that.
No, it is. I think about it. Like I read Atomic Change recently, and it's all of those little things that add up to big things, right? It's I think about historically people would go to CE and they come back and they want to blow up their practice and make these huge changes, and those don't usually go that well. So if you're functioning well and you can make these little steps forward, that's where we see results over time. We just have to be a little bit patient. But it happens. I mean, again, this relationship is, let's call it 2 years old, and we've been able to make significant changes in a short period of time because we have quick feedback and quick growth that are little things that are happening consistently, right? So if each procedure we're trying to get a little bit better, we're not changing a whole setup here,
right?
We're like, hey, I need cut the cord a little differently for a veneer than you would for the crown. Easy change, right? Yep. It's not a big overhaul. Those are the things to me that have made the biggest difference, is that we're constantly willing to tweak to get better. Yeah. That's for us where the growth is happening, right?
I love it. And so you're on this path. Let me ask you a couple questions. How important is photography?
100%. It's the most important thing in the world.
Tell us
I would rather you take away my handpiece than take away my camera.
Whoa, explain that.
So I can't get to the point that I'm prepping the teeth if I haven't done my photography well. I can't educate the patient. I can't plan appropriately if I don't have photography. Period. Like that. Then when I teach that at Pankey, I say the exact same thing. Like you can quote me on that. Just date me, right? Just date me. But I would rather someone take that away because I can't plan the dentistry without my camera.
I love it. I love it. So I've been doing this a long time. This is one of my jokes. I'll just share one of my, the joke is if you go to enough CE, really good CE, you're going to get thirsty for a camera and you're going to get a good one. And it's going to be amazing. And you're going to open up the box and you're going to come back from wherever you came from and then you're going to open it up and no one can touch it. Don't touch my camera. I'm the only, you start to believe that you're the only one that can use this instrument the way it needs to be used. And that becomes a self-limiting belief.
Yeah.
And a lot of dentists, you have to literally pry their fingers off of it and hand it to the assistant. And then their hands shake like this. Do you know what I mean? And so talk about the evolution and how important it was in your journey, and that you and Allie were able to do that. And then also speak honestly about how much you do and how much she does in your workflow process.
In the photography process?
Yeah, just in that process.
So I think, I learned 15 years ago from Steve Radcliffe how to take photographs. Nancy and Denny, who I was dentist I was working with at the time, brought him in for a study club, and I spent a weekend with him as a brand new dentist, learning how to take pictures, and it just went off from, like, I just loved it. So I have always taken essentially 100% of my photos because I really like it. Like, I really like to do it. What I need Allie to understand, and I think she does, is what am I trying to accomplish with these photographs, right? So as an assistant, as another set of hands, which I need to take a lot of these the way that I want them, what's the purpose of this photo, right? So it goes back to the why. When I'm taking a full face photo, I need it straight on. I need a neutral head position. Like, I need all of these things so that I can do my facially generated treatment planning. So she needs to understand, whether she's got the camera in her hand or not, what is the purpose of each of the photos in the series that we're going to take. And then intraorally, obviously, I need her set of hands to retract and place mirrors and those types of things. I will say I had to do a presentation for Panky about my own health, and someone had to take the photos of me, right? So, and again, it's one of those things that I would tell any dentist, like, the photography is not difficult. It's a commitment to doing it. Like, it's all about light and camera settings, and those things are not, like, I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not the smartest person maybe in this room. So it's not difficult if you have the right person teach you and you understand conceptually how to change things on the camera. Come to Panky. We have a photography course in October. I'll be there. I'm happy to help. But there are courses out there that will show you how to do it. And it's practice changing to me. Like, that's the most important thing, that I can show my patient things. I can show my team things. I can show other dentists those things. And then celebrate those results at the end with great photography. So what's your photography experience with me? Same as mine.
Yeah, like, I working at other offices, I had never seen it and somebody use the camera as much as he does, but I think it does help a lot, like he said, with his prepping, knowing where we're going, what he's doing, what he could change or whatnot. And also for me to understand, again, the why he's doing things, because I can now see it. I think with some of the first patients that we worked with, I hadn't seen them before. I didn't know who they were, but he had photos. So with those photos, I was able to, I guess, catch up and know where we were going. Like, this is where we're trying to go. Here are the photos of where it is. Let's get there.
I love it. I have so many questions. I'm going to keep you guys on for like 2 more hours here. This is such an important piece of being happy as a dentist. What do you think? And Charlie, you get a chance to talk to a lot of dentists. And Allie, I'm sure you talk to other people too. Like, what do most people get wrong about this relationship? Because I'm sure you're talking to people, Charlie, and they're like, you don't understand my practice. And you're like, oh gosh. If I'm a dentist listening, what do most people get wrong about this relationship?
I think that it's a hierarchy, right? It's hard. It would be hard for us to have a relationship where she can come and give me feedback if she's intimidated by me, right? If I constantly put myself above her. Again, there's an understanding that, like, I'm the dentist, she's the assistant. Like, there are decisions that I make about that. There are responsibilities that I have around that, but that my success is directly tied to how well we function as a team, right? And the success of the case and the happiness of the patient is directly affected by how well we work together. And if that relationship is adversarial, it can't be successful. I think that's the hardest part is like, the assistant is there to assist me. We're there to work together. Like we had to think about that a little bit differently. Like she is my extra set of hands, literally. And she's not, it just can't be hierarchical. It's the best way that I can describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Allie,
No, I agree with what you said. I think a lot of it is just respect for each other too, just knowing, like he said, like he is my boss. He's my boss. I know that. And like as much as we can play or not, I know that I have to respect them. I know, I guess like my place, but I don't think there has ever been an instance where I have or him or any of the other doctors in here where I have felt less. Like if anything, I think that with this practice and just with Charlie, just because he's who I work with the most, I think this is probably the best that I felt about being an assistant. Like I feel valued.
that's so awesome. I love it. I love it. I'm picking up on other things that you guys mentioned earlier. You said we look at these cases as teaching cases. What's different when you look at a patient as a teaching case versus just a regular aesthetic case?
Oh, that's interesting. I think you can make the case that they're all teaching cases, right? Because if we're doing feedback and continued learning, like we're going to learn something every single time. Something's going to be a little different. They're never two cases that are exactly the same. I say that because I present so much that there's just so many opportunities for me to document and then share something with another dentist that would hopefully be helpful, right? Like, hey, here's how I did it. Here's how I screwed it up. Here's how I made it better. Here's how I did it right one time. Here's how you can be more efficient. I think there's just so many opportunities for us to do that. And push the profession forward. And that's really kind of where I'm at in my career. Like, hey, if I can build another person up, I can build Allie up, I can build another dentist up, that's where I get the most reward in those things. So I think of all of those situations as teaching cases. I guess the only non-teaching case we had was Chris, our in-house lab technician.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, Chris, I'm not taking any photos on you to document this. We're going to get shade photos. We're going to do the bare minimum. And we were so fast.
It was so fast. Like we were like, wow, we finished this super quick. And then we're like, why? And we're like, oh, we're going to take a single photo.
We just skipped all the steps for you, Chris.
Exactly. Chris, we're going beginning, middle, end. There's no fluff in this. Yeah. But I think that's the way that we look at it. Like we're really just trying to do better every single time, and then hopefully help other people skip all those mistakes that we have made.
Yeah. Gosh, I actually want to come to your office and take some video. What's your favorite system that you guys have created in the back? Something that comes top of mind between you and your assisting team that you're just like, I really love how we created this system. Anything come to mind?
To me, it's probably our prep appointments, like our veneer prep appointments, like that. Why. We've just gotten
it's so smooth.
Like it's so smooth now. It's become boring. It's so smooth and it's amazing. Just because we, again, check system, checklist, why, and then we document so many of them. Like I'm documenting every step during the prep process, basically. And again, they're all opportunities for teaching, but we've done it enough now over the last 2 years that we both know the next step. So it's just, it is a symphony and it is smooth.
And even knowing like when he has to take a picture, like, oh, hey, you should take a photo of this, or this is where you usually do this.
Yeah. I think that's been the coolest part of it is that Allie's, for as many photos as I take, like I'll take it and she'll be like, no, you need to retake that. And I'm like, I want to retake it. And she's like, you need to retake that picture.
It's just knowing like his standards, I guess. Like I know where he has to be. He's not the kind of person that just settles for, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Like I know that he wants to excel and he wants to do really good dentistry, and I have seen it and I know where we can go or what we can do. I'm like, let's stay there. And if we don't stay there, let's do better than it.
There it is.
I love it. I love it. So one of the questions I have for you guys is, I know you're always improving, always looking to get better, always looking at improving the way that you communicate this stuff. What's on the horizon? Give me the next chapter of this. Where do you want to go next?
It's a great question. I just finished the scholar program at Pankey. I have one case left for accreditation from the Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry. And Allie's been integral, obviously, in both of those things. I think it's continuing to hone those systems and procedures in a way, because I never felt a jump. I think I never felt like one day I woke up and all of a sudden I can do these things. 2 years ago, I thought I was a pretty good dentist. And today I'm like, I didn't know anything, And I don't know when that happened, but the process of Pankey Scholar and accreditation, those types of things, like the progress there, it feels quick in hindsight, but I never felt like I just woke up one day. I remember with composite, I always loved working with composite and doing those types of things. And just through doing a couple cases that may have been appropriate for accreditation, I did one, and Allie came in the feedback loop and was like, I've never seen you go at a composite that way with that much confidence before. And that's how it happened. I knew exactly what I needed to do. Yeah. And it was those types of things. Like she knows what we're trying to accomplish. But the changes that continue to happen, it's like, hey, I'm excited about what's going to happen next. I'm not quite sure what it is, but if it's anything like the last 2 years, like we're both just pushing to do better and better. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Allie, what do you want to see in the future here?
I don't even know. I really don't like more of these cases. More of these cases. Like I said, I really like dentistry, and I just want to keep learning. And Charlie knows a lot.
Yeah,
I know.
And we get pretty cool cases. It's just always fun for me. I think that's what it is. I think it has become fun for me to do these cases. Like I'm excited to do them. Like I want to see them done. I want to let's do this so we can make this patient happy. And then they start tearing out, and I'm like, oh, me too.
Yeah. And wouldn't you guys agree? People ask me all the time, well, how do I create a great practice? Would you agree with this statement? Like, it's just one patient at a time, one day at a time. And then the more you do, the more you get known for that, the better you get at it, the better. Wouldn't you agree? It's, Pete Dawson used to say becoming an overnight success really takes 5 to 7 years.
That's a perfect, I haven't heard that quote, but that is it is. That's exactly what it is. I don't think any of that happens. If it happens that quickly, Kirk, like literally overnight, you're not prepared.
Yeah.
You're not prepared for that type of change. And it's one patient at a time. I need to do, every prep needs to be better than the last prep. Like every restoration needs to be better than the next restoration. It's just, I think that's how we've always looked at it. That's why the feedback is helpful. That's why working the systems at the beginning and then reworking the systems, like all of those things are little tiny changes that 5 years down the line, when you compare yourself to that person 5 years ago, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a different practice. This is a different person. And when you have those successes, share them. This is not social media, but also social media, like with your team, Allie and I are obviously working closely, but we did a great case recently, and I showed it at a team meeting. Hey, here is the case start to finish. here's all the work that we did at the beginning to get it there. Because admin doesn't see that. Hygiene doesn't see that. But this is what we're doing in this practice, right? So everyone can be excited about it. Share it with your specialists, share it with local study clubs, like anywhere that you can go out and show the things that you love to do, especially when they turn out well. And you can help other people. And then eventually you can be that guy or girl that does those things, right? And 5 to 7 years later, you're an overnight success, just like you said.
Love it.
Yep.
I love it. Well, I want you guys, obviously, I want people to learn more about you and what you're doing. But before we do that, give us some final thoughts. I want to hear from both of you.
Okay, final thoughts. Systems, checklist, and why for us are the 3 biggest things, right? Start with your systems, get those worked out with your team, do them together. Obviously, people help support the things that they help create, right? So you need to work those together. That's what Rich Green told us. And then, if you want to be that person, the educator in your practice, the one that builds the people up, then help them understand why you're doing the things that you're doing so that they can help you and ultimately the patient. And then push for those little feedbacks and take those little steps, right? That's the atomic change kind of thing. And on the atomic level, we build them up a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And that's where we see the big changes happen.
100%. Allie, give us your thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I think just mostly what he said. It's just so important to, at least for me, it's good for me to have a good relationship with him. At the end of the day, we're together 10 hours a day. So getting I don't know. I think we're friends.
We're friends.
I think we're friends. Yeah.
I think we're friends. I mean, that was more of a question. Yes.
But no, it's we get along and it's pleasant to work with each other. And it's not like I consider myself a very nervous person. But once we start working, it just goes away. We're just we're in this, we're doing it together. I know what you want, how I what we can do for each other. And I think that relationship's just so important to have. Rare sometimes, depending on where you are, but at least I'm very grateful to have it.
Yeah. Well, Allie, you do not look like a nervous person. This is your first podcast and you did amazing. Great job. Well, if people are listening and they want to find out more about you, Charlie, or learn about Pankey, what is it? Where do I go? Tell me where to go if I'm a listener.
Yeah. So, we're doing a lot of cool things. I teach at the Pankey Institute, like you said, Kirk, and do a lot down there. Mastering aesthetic restorative dentistry every November. That is now sold out into 2026. So we're doing great stuff. We're adding some courses down there. That's been fantastic. We do a photography course, one in October with a couple friends. We're doing a mastering treatment planning course. Our mutual friend, Chris Mazzola, and I are starting that next year to help some people just get used to that process. That's also at Pankey. And then, some other things on the road. If you want to get out there and see us, it's great. There's a combination of things that I put on social media. It's pictures of teeth and pictures of my kids. So if you want to do that, Dr. C. Ward DDS on there, but you can find me, search for Charlie Ward. I'm not an ex-football player for Florida State, so you might get some of those searches, but lots of cool stuff out there happening. Pankey's where I started and continue to go back just because of the community.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great things and you're making big impact in the world of dentists' lives and dentistry as a whole. So keep it up. And thank you guys so much for being on. I really appreciate this.
You got it. Thanks, Kirk. Thanks for having us.
Hey, thank you. Don't leave yet because I want to say goodbye to our listeners. Now, I'll make this super easy. If you're listening to the podcast, wherever you're listening to the podcast, whether it be Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, doesn't matter. Go up to the show notes, just flip up to the show notes, and we're going to put links in there to everything that Charlie and Allie mentioned. So you can just click on them right there. You can see Charlie's social media, his courses, and even the master class that he did for us. That was brilliant here. You can check all that out and see more about what he's doing. And I promise you'll be inspired. So keep showing up, keep sending us suggestions for things you guys want to see. We're going to keep bringing it. And I don't know how this is working, but I'm just super grateful. Thank you guys for all the shares, all the downloads. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And we're going to have Charlie and Allie back again and again and again. So until we see you guys next time, or you hear from us next time, keep watching or keep listening to the Best Practices Show. You guys enjoy your day.